Throwaway for obvious reasons. So I, female, 29, feel like my entire family has turned against me over planning my pregnant sister's baby shower, and I honestly don't know what to do anymore. My sister, female, 26, let's call her Emma, is expecting her first baby, and my mom has been making all these comments about how I should host the shower, but I never actually agreed to anything. Am I the idiot for being upset that everyone just assumed I'd do this? Okay, so some background. I've basically been the family event coordinator for like 5 years now because I have the biggest house, and apparently I get things done right. My mom's words, not mine. Every graduation party, birthday, holiday gathering, you name it, it's always at my place. And honestly, I'm getting really tired of it, but I don't know how to say no without looking like a total bitch. My sister has this thing where she never directly asks for stuff. Like last year when she needed help with rent, she spent weeks going on about how tight money was and how stressful everything felt until I finally offered to lend her $800, which she still hasn't paid back, by the way, but whatever, that's another story. So anyway, last Sunday we're at my parents' house for dinner and my mom starts talking about baby shower planning. She's literally staring right at me the entire time, going on about how some people are just naturally good at hosting and asking when we should start making arrangements. I'm trying to eat my pasta, and she pulls out these old photo albums to show Emma baby pictures of us when we were little. This somehow turns into this whole thing about family legacy and keeping traditions alive in spaces where everyone feels comfortable. Then she started going on about how my house has the same welcoming energy as Grandma's old place where we used to host everything. Like, what does that even mean? Emma immediately jumps in describing her dream shower while staring at me hopefully. I'm talking full Pinterest mode here. She pulls out her phone and starts showing these inspiration photos, and I swear to God, every single one looks exactly like my living room. She's asking about my back patio and whether it would work for extra seating, and I'm just sitting there like, when did we decide this was happening? I tried to change the subject by mentioning how stressed I am about wedding planning, which is true. There's so much stuff to figure out. But my mom just brushes it off saying, weddings plan themselves, but babies only come once. Excuse me. My wedding definitely is not planning itself, but okay. Then my dad, who was trying to be helpful, I think, mentions he heard Emma on the phone last week, getting so excited about something at your place while he was at her house picking up tools. So apparently she's been planning this whole thing around my house without even asking me first. The whole dinner felt weird, like they'd already decided and were just waiting for me to catch up. But here's where it gets worse. 3 days later, my aunt calls me asking if I need help with the shower planning because everyone knows you're doing it. I'm like, what? Apparently she ran into Emma at the grocery store and Emma was buying pregnancy magazines and talking about how overwhelming party planning felt. When my aunt offered to help with decorations, Emma said, "Oh, that would be amazing, though I should probably check with my sister first since she's handling the hosting details." So now my aunt has been calling other family members offering to help, and everyone just assumes this is happening. I never said yes to any of this. Emma made it sound like I was already planning everything while being all considerate about coordination. It's like sneaky. But also maybe I'm overreacting because she's pregnant and hormonal and I should be more supportive. The thing is, and I feel terrible about this, but my fiance and I have been trying for a while. Over a year, actually. And we've been seeing a specialist for the past few months because nothing's happening, and I'm starting to worry something's wrong with me. Nobody in my family knows about any of this because how do you even bring that up? Hey mom, your comments about grandchildren are really painful because I might be infertile, but let's keep that between us. It just hurts extra when Emma's going on about her dream shower, and my mom is making all these comments about babies and family legacy. Like, I want to be happy for her, I really do. But it's hard when you're dealing with your own stuff and feeling like a failure. My fiance has been saying for months that my family has boundary issues and that they expect too much from me. 3 months ago, after they basically took over the entire Thanksgiving seating arrangement to accommodate some issues with my uncle, he said I needed to start saying no more often. I defended them because they're family and you help family, right? But now I'm wondering if he was onto something. I know I sound selfish complaining about hosting a party when my sister is pregnant and needs support. The thing is, my parents paid for most of our wedding and helped with our house down payment, but when Emma needed rent money, they didn't have it. So there's this whole guilt thing where I feel like I owe them because they've been so generous to us. But also, why does that mean I have to host every family event forever? I don't know how to handle this without looking like the worst sister ever. Emma keeps making these comments in our family group chat about hoping everything works out for the shower, and my mom keeps liking all her messages. It feels like there's all this pressure and expectation, but nobody will just directly ask me. Maybe I should just suck it up and do it. But I'm already stressed about wedding planning, and work has been crazy. And honestly, the thought of coordinating another family event makes me want to cry. Plus, there's all the stuff with trying to get pregnant that's making everything feel extra emotional. I feel like no matter what I do, I'm going to be the bad guy here. If I say no, I'm the selfish sister who can't support her pregnant sibling. If I say yes, I'm stuck hosting another event I didn't want to plan while dealing with my own private struggles. Am I the idiot for being upset that my family just assumed I'd host my sister's baby shower without actually asking me first? Information to add. For those asking about just talking to Emma directly, I've tried, but she does this thing where she never gives straight answers. When I asked her about the shower planning stuff, she just said, "Oh, I just want whatever works for everyone," and started talking about how grateful she is that family cares so much. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who's being deliberately vague so they can't be accused of pressuring you. Since posting this, I've been thinking about what my fiancé said about boundaries, and honestly, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Last year, they basically decided I was hosting my cousin's graduation party because it made the most sense. And I found out when my uncle called asking about parking arrangements. The pattern is starting to feel really familiar and not in a good way. Now for the first update. Hey Reddit, remember me? The one whose family basically decided I was hosting my pregnant sister's baby shower without asking. Well, things got so much worse, and I honestly don't even know where to start. You guys were right about there being way more going on here than I realized. So yesterday, my future mother-in-law calls me, and she starts asking about logistics for the wedding weekend. Normal stuff at first, like who's staying where and timing for different events. But then she casually mentions she's been trying to figure out guest room arrangements and needs to know how much space to leave for Emma's things since she'll be transitioning between houses that weekend. I'm like, what? What things? What transition? And my future mother-in-law explains that 2 weeks ago when we all went to my dress fitting, Emma spent like half the appointment talking about her pregnancy and how she'd be staying with family after the wedding until the baby comes and would need help with all the logistics. Janet's been trying to plan around this because she wanted to make sure there was enough room for the move, but didn't want to step on anyone's toes. I never agreed to any of this. So I call Emma immediately, and I'm trying to stay calm because maybe there really was some misunderstanding. I ask her what the hell Janet was talking about with living arrangements, and at first Emma tries to laugh it off, saying Janet must have misunderstood something during girl talk, and pregnancy brain makes you ramble. But when I press her about the specific details Janet mentioned, Emma gets all defensive and starts saying she might have brought up hypotheticals because she didn't want to seem homeless and desperate while pregnant. Like, hypotheticals about living in my house. Then she admits that she's been telling people we were working out details because she needed to give everyone context for why she couldn't commit to other housing plans yet. She's literally been using my house as a placeholder in conversations for months, apparently. I ask who else she's told this to, and guys, the list is insane. Her coworkers think she's moving in with me. Her mother-in-law thinks we've been planning this whole transition. My cousin asked me about help with the move-in timeline last week, and I thought she was talking about moving apartments in general. Even our wedding coordinator apparently got a call from Emma asking about family housing stuff during the wedding weekend. I am sitting in my car in a parking lot right now because I literally had to pull over after calling like 5 different people to figure out how deep this goes. My mom texted me back about making room for baby things when I asked about storage options. I thought she meant decorations for the shower we were supposedly planning, but now I realize she was talking about Emma's actual belongings for an extended stay. My own mother thinks this is happening. Emma has basically created this whole story where everyone thinks they know part of the plan, but nobody has the full picture. And the worst part, she's been doing this while making me feel guilty about the baby shower situation. I don't even know what to do with this information. Part of me wants to call everyone back and correct the record, but then Emma looks like a complete liar, which she is. But if I don't say anything, then people keep thinking I agreed to something I never agreed to. My fiancé was right. Oh my God, he was so right about the boundary issues, and I feel like such an idiot for defending this for so long. How did I not see that this whole family basically operates through guilt trips instead of just asking for things directly? Emma's been coming to family gatherings at my house way more often the past 2 months, and always staying late making comments about how comfortable and peaceful my place feels. I thought she was just being nice, but was she literally scoping out where she wanted to live? And now I have to figure out how to handle this without destroying my relationship with my sister right before my wedding. Because if I call her out publicly, everyone's going to know she lied to them about housing arrangements while pregnant. But if I don't say anything, then I'm stuck with people thinking I agreed to let her move in after my wedding, which is literally the last thing I want to deal with. I keep thinking about what you guys said about setting boundaries, and honestly, I've been the family event coordinator for 5 years, not because I wanted to, but because I literally didn't know how to say no without being labeled selfish. And now Emma's doing the same thing, but with my actual house. I can't believe this is my life right now. Between trying to get pregnant myself, which nobody knows about, planning a wedding, and now discovering my sister has been lying to half our family about living arrangements, I just want to disappear. How do you even come back from finding out your family member has been lying about you to multiple people? Like, where do we go from here? Edit. 1. For those asking if I've confronted Emma directly about the lies, yes, and she basically admitted to creating this whole story, but claims it wasn't intentional manipulation, just pregnancy anxiety about their housing situation. 2. No, I haven't told my fiancé the full extent of this yet, because I'm honestly embarrassed about how naive I've been about my family's patterns. 3. To answer the questions about the timeline, apparently Emma's been building this story for months, starting small with coworkers and building up to telling my future in-laws, which is why it took so long for me to find out more. Now for the second update. Sorry for the delay. Things have been absolutely insane, and honestly, I'm still processing everything that happened. You guys, I don't even know where to start. Remember how I thought the housing thing was bad? Well, it turns out that was nothing compared to what I found out. My entire family has been lying to me for months. Months. So after that initial call with Emma where she tried to brush everything off as pregnancy brain, I read all your comments and decided I needed to call her back yesterday and demand a real explanation. Not the deflection bullshit she gave me the first time. I wanted to know why she thought it was okay to tell half our family that she was moving into my house without ever actually asking me. At first, she tried to minimize what she'd already admitted to, claiming that even though she'd created the housing story, it was still somehow just conversations that got out of hand. But then I started listing off specific things people had told me, like how the wedding coordinator called her about family housing stuff, and how my cousin texted me about move-in timing, and how Janet, my future mother-in-law, has been planning guest room arrangements around Emma's move. That's when Emma started getting really panicky. She kept saying she never meant for it to get so complicated, and maybe she should have handled it differently. But when I asked her point blank why she thought any of this was okay, she just broke. She admitted that our parents told her to handle it this way, something she'd been too scared to tell me during our first confrontation because she knew how much worse it would make everything. I'm sorry, what? Apparently, and I'm still trying to process this, our parents told Emma not to ask me directly about the living situation. They thought I might say no if I felt pushed. Instead, they told her to bring it up with other people, so that by the time it came back to me, it would seem like something everyone was already okay with. They literally coached her on how to manipulate me, my own parents. But wait, it gets worse. When I called my mom to confront her about this, she immediately got all defensive and tried to change the subject to wedding planning stuff, like asking if I'd picked out my shoes yet and whether I needed help with any last-minute details. I was like, Mom, we need to talk about what you told Emma. She tried to play dumb at first, but when I wouldn't let it go, she put my dad on the phone thinking he'd be able to calm me down. Except my dad apparently didn't realize how much I already knew, because he accidentally let slip that they've been worried about family stuff changing after the wedding. Family stuff changing after my wedding. When I asked what the hell that meant, he said they think my fiancé has been pulling me away from family traditions and they wanted Emma living nearby as a support system to keep family close. I literally had to pull over again because I was shaking so hard I couldn't drive. My parents think my fiancé is, brainwashing me, and their solution was to manipulate me into letting my pregnant sister move in without my knowledge. But guys, it gets even worse. While I'm on the phone with my dad trying to process this absolute betrayal, Emma calls me crying. She's sobbing and saying she can't handle the pressure anymore and needs to tell me the truth about everything. The truth about everything. Turns out when I first announced my wedding date last year, Emma immediately put a deposit down at the community center for her baby shower. The same weekend as my wedding. When I asked her why the hell she would book anything for my wedding weekend, something I hadn't even thought to check during my panic calls to everyone else, because who does that? She broke down completely and said our parents suggested it. They said all the family would already be in town and it would show that both events matter equally, and I would have to figure out a way to make it work. They wanted me to have to choose between my wedding and my sister's baby shower. Or more likely, they wanted me to feel so guilty that I'd somehow accommodate both and prove that I still prioritize family over everything else. My own parents set up this entire situation because they don't trust my fiancé and wanted to test my loyalty or something. I was so angry I could barely think straight. But then I remembered something you guys said about consequences, and I did something that I'm not sure I should admit to. I called Emma's mother-in-law. Within like an hour of getting off the phone with Emma, I called her mother-in-law, let's call her Patricia, and I was very careful about how I approached it. I didn't accuse Emma of lying or anything like that. Instead, I said I was confused and worried about some mixed messages I'd been getting about living arrangements and timeline stuff. I mentioned that people keep asking me about things I don't remember agreeing to, and I was concerned that maybe Emma was feeling overwhelmed and making commitments without thinking them through clearly. I specifically brought up the baby shower date conflict and asked if Patricia knew about this double booking situation because I was trying to understand what the actual plan was supposed to be. Patricia started asking a lot of questions, about the housing situation, about the shower planning, about why Emma had been telling people different things. And the more I positioned myself as equally confused and just trying to figure out what was going on, the more suspicious Patricia got. Apparently, Patricia has been the primary financial support for Emma and her boyfriend throughout the pregnancy. Emma's boyfriend doesn't make much money and has been struggling with work stuff. When Patricia realized that Emma might have been lying to multiple people about major life decisions, she was not happy. Patricia called Emma directly and demanded explanations. And when your primary financial supporter during pregnancy starts asking pointed questions about your honesty, well, Emma's story fell apart pretty quickly. Long story short, Patricia told Emma that until she starts being honest about what's really going on, instead of creating chaos during an already stressful time, the financial support is on hold. Emma called me like 2 hours later, absolutely hysterical, crying about how she's going to lose her apartment and how Patricia won't even talk to her boyfriend anymore, and how she can't believe I tattled to her mother-in-law about family business. And you know what? Part of me feels terrible about it. She's pregnant and stressed, and now her main source of support is threatening to cut her off. But also, she lied to everyone for months about my house and my wedding weekend because our parents told her to. My fiancé came home while I was on the phone with Emma and heard enough of the conversation to piece together what happened. He didn't say "I told you so," but I could see it in his face. All those times he tried to tell me about boundary issues and manipulation patterns, he was right about everything. I feel like such an idiot for defending my family for so long when they were literally plotting behind my back. But now I don't know what to do about any of this. Emma's baby shower is still supposedly happening the same weekend as my wedding, though maybe not anymore given the Patricia situation. My parents are probably going to be furious when they find out I called Patricia, and my wedding is in 6 weeks with all this family chaos exploding right before. Also, I keep thinking about how this whole thing started because they don't trust my fiancé and want to keep me close to family. But their solution was to lie to me and manipulate me, which is exactly the kind of thing that would make someone want to distance themselves from family. Like they created the exact problem they were trying to prevent. I don't know if I can face any of them at family dinner this week. How do you sit across from people who spent months planning to manipulate you and pretend everything's normal? Edit. Since so many are asking about whether I plan to uninvite them from the wedding, honestly, I don't know yet. Part of me is so hurt and angry that I want them to face real consequences, but they're still my parents, and it's 6 weeks before my wedding. To those saying I went too far with the Patricia thing, maybe you're right. I was so angry and hurt that I wanted Emma to face some kind of consequence for the lies. But now that her financial support is threatened, I'm wondering if I made things worse. She's pregnant and stressed, and maybe I should have found a different way to handle it. For everyone asking if my fiancé said I told you so, he actually didn't, which somehow makes me feel even worse about dismissing his concerns for so long. He just held me while I cried and said we'd figure it out together. I think I owe him a pretty big apology for not listening sooner.